Bailouts have become politically unacceptable since the financial crisis, as billion-dollar CEO bonuses funded by taxpayers became known even in the propaganda mainstream media. So instead, there is a new system, and they call it bail-in. Essentially, the banks steal money from depositors or creditors to make up for the losses on their books. What a genius idea! It was only a few short years ago when the pilot project for the bail-ins took place in Cyprus. Today, we shift to the next country in line, Austria. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we will get into the Austria bail-in, a 54% haircut, that's right. So a bail-in, for those who don't know, is just how I explained it in the introduction, is that the bank actually has the ability to go in and grab whatever money that's kept under their noses, under their books, and take it as their own. Why? Because as soon as you put your money in that bank, it becomes theirs. It's not yours. That's right. So let's look at this. Austria's financial market regulator, FMA, on Sunday cut the nominal value of bad bank HETA asset resolutions senior bonds by more than half, highlighting the long struggle creditors face for repayment if a settlement is not reached. So they were under a little bit of scrutiny at this time, trying to figure out what they were going to do with this company. And unfortunately, creditors suffered. The FMA, which is overseeing the wind down of HETA on Sunday, announced measures including the bail-in or haircut of 54%, the extension of bond maturities to 2023, and the cancellation of coupon payments as of March last year. So obviously, think about this for a second. A 54% haircut. Imagine you lose half of your money on your investment. What would that say to you? But another thing that I want to mention that I don't want to go unnoticed is the extension of bonds maturities. How many times have I told you, not just about the bail-ins, but how many times have I told you they will give you future dated bonds? How many times have I told you this? And here we are, Austria, facing this exact scenario. It is so probable, so likely that we will see this into the future. They can take money out of people's bank accounts and replace it with a government bond and say, look, we haven't stolen your money. All we've done is replace it with this future dated money. I swear it's just as good. In fact, we'll give you 2% on your money, or they make up some little silly thing. And people, if they have, let's say, over $100,000 in the account, they won't feel as bad. They think, well, you know what? I don't need that money for another 10 years anyway, so it's fine. And they won't riot. They won't be in the streets and upset. But it's going to snowball. You'll see. The announcement is the latest chapter in a standoff between the province of Carinthia and HETA's creditors, many of which insist on repayment in full because their bonds were guaranteed. Oops, they were guaranteed and now they're not anymore, which could push the province into insolvency. So we'll see what happens. Of course, we'll cover it here. But what's important to note, number one, is that they took a haircut, and number two, that they are pushing the bonds further into the future, something that I have predicted multiple times here on this channel. Now, here's the FMA's own website, the Financial Market Authority, right out of Austria. And I'm just going to read just a couple things just to give you the exact information. And right at the very top here, they actually use the word bail-in. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not just an isolated event. You can't use that excuse anymore. People are constantly in the mainstream media, and you see the silly people all around talking about how this isn't going to happen. Well, newsflash, it's already happened once, and now it's happening again. It doesn't happen necessarily on people's bank accounts, like their savings accounts. It can happen to any of their financial assets. This is just another example. All right, so just a couple of the pointers here. 100% bail-in for all subordinated liabilities, a 54% bail-in, resulting in a 46% quota for all eligible preferential liabilities, and essentially it goes on. Now, this is a little bit of jargon going on here, but again, it says the same thing that I mentioned in the previous article. So what we have to realize here is that this is a strategy that's being implemented all across the world. It is not political to use bail-ins anymore, but I think they still might at some point. But the bail-ins, very easy to do. Let's look at this here. Out of The Guardian, taxpayer rescues of the banking sector will be a thing of the past. The governor of the Bank of England is expected to say on Monday, this is obviously some time ago, before meetings to back a new deal for lenders is considered, quote, too big to fail. So Mark Carney is there, and this is just before the meeting in Brisbane, 2014, where they said essentially that, look, we're not going to have this too big to fail thing. That's a bad idea. Instead, we're going to have this bail-in regime, bail-in strategy, depending on which country, a levy, I've heard that one mentioned before, a tax. And what do they try and do? Well, basically, they will take money from these special funds that they have set up, super secret funds, and they'll take the money from there. Unfortunately, what they don't tell the public is that those super secret funds are really just our bank accounts. But oops, not allowed to say that. And then again, we're looking at this. Under the new so-called bail-in rules, globally systemic banks will have to hold total loss absorbing capacity, not true, equity or debt that can be converted into their shares of at least 16 to 20% of their assets. Okay, if anyone believes this, please let me know. This is all false. But anyway, the current Basel minimum for their reserve ratios, look at this, is 3%. They only need to keep 3% on hand. This is a disaster waiting to happen. So when you implement the rules globally, G20 nations implemented the bail-in strategy. They already piloted that project with Cyprus. It's been done once. Now here we are, Austria, having the same thing happen again. A little bit different, of course, but it is a bail-in. That's the word that they're using, a bail-in. Who takes the losses? Creditors take the losses. That's just the way this happens, even though they say it's guaranteed. So your accounts, your bank accounts, your guaranteed investments, your RRSPs, 401ks, and everything else in between is at risk. This is a warning. Look at what I wrote about in my book. I'm quoting William Engel in his book, Seeds of Destruction, an incredible book. The debt terms of the IMF were used to force countries to virtually give away their most precious economic assets to foreign interests in order to repay a debt that grew ever larger. And they want to do the exact same thing to individuals, make you broke so that they take everything. This is their plan, and it's going ahead perfectly according to their plans. Bank of Cyprus executes depositor bail-in. If you don't believe it, just look at the pages of history that they in fact did this. Savers in the Bank of Cyprus took a hit on Sunday as 37.5% of their uninsured deposits were converted to equity as part of the island's €10 billion rescue deal. That's right. If you want to save the banks, you need to take your money and give it to the banks. Well, that's a little strange, sort of doesn't make sense, but that's exactly what the bail-in strategy is. Banks have become insolvent because they've gambled too much. So what do you have to do? Well, you have to give up your money to the banks. This is the criminal act that is expanding. It's going all around the world. Remember that I warned you about the bail-ins when they took place. I told you that this will be a policy implemented globally. We saw the G20 in Brisbane talk about it. Now it's being implemented globally. You also have to remember the fact that I specifically said on this channel multiple occasions that they will give us future dated bonds, and they have done that now. That is being done in Austria as we speak. I can't believe it, but it's all taking place. I wish I wasn't right, but this is just the way it is. It doesn't take a genius. It doesn't take a crystal ball. I am not a soothsayer. I just read their documentation. I piece it together, connect the dots, and I'm trying to bring it to you. This is a warning. Please take it. If you want to fight against the system, the number one way is to take your savings out of the bank and put it into real assets. At the very least, they have less control over it. And by removing your savings from the bank, it's like a double whammy against them. It's a great way to fight against the system without actually having to physically do anything. Invest in real assets. I've covered this before in other videos. If you want to see more videos about the bail-in, I have one specifically about what a bail-in is, and that is at my main YouTube channel page. If you just go to the Money GPS YouTube channel page, or you go to themoneygps.com/free eCourse, and you can click on the bail-in video right there. It'll break everything down for you, exactly what it is, examples of the bail-in, and how they intend on implementing this strategy. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, then you will definitely find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. If you head over to Amazon, they have a look inside feature, which will allow you to flip through the pages of the book and see if you like it. Take care.